Today, I want to talk about LEGO MOC series, why I think they're a dead format, and how things might change in the future as YouTube continues to evolve and viewing habits change. I'm going to speak from my own experience having done a LEGO MOC series in the past, but also from the perspective of a viewer who's noticing a shift in LEGO content over the past couple of years. LEGO MOC series as a format have been around on YouTube for a pretty long time, but you might have noticed that you don't really see them very much anymore. To provide some context, when I talk about LEGO MOC series, I'm mostly referring to the episodic or weekly update series that we've seen in the LEGO Star Wars community over the last 10 years. To give an example, we can take a look at what I'm pretty sure is the first, if not one of the first MOC series to exist on YouTube, which is David's Kashyyyk series. This series went for a couple of years with weekly updates and ended with a large finale at the end showcasing the entire build. Since the initial release of that series, this has kind of become a blueprint for sharing a ongoing large-scale MOC on YouTube. Many others have gone on to make their own MOC series, and I even did one back in 2023 on my main channel. I released 5 episodes of updates over the course of a couple months. I did a finale, I showcased the entire time-lapse, but I only did this format one time. Throughout the process of doing this series, I learned a lot, and I got to see kind of what goes into producing something like this, but I noticed that it wasn't quite working the same way that these series had worked before. And I knew that this wasn't unique to just my channel. I had seen this across multiple other people's channels as well. I think this can be attributed to 2 main things. To start with, YouTube as a whole is changing. Your average LEGO video now is much faster paced and it is jam-packed full of content. The way that I make my videos now is I take multiple weeks worth of effort and building and I pack them all into a single 8 to 10 minute video. I've done quite a few more large-scale builds after my MOC series that I did in the first place, and a number of these are just single videos where I show the entire build process in one video. Some of these definitely could have been split up into a full series. I could have probably gotten 10 videos out of a couple of them, but instead, I'm putting them all into one single video, and there is a reason behind that. Just to compare the performance of my MOC series versus one of my standalone videos, I have my Christophsis series, which was 7 videos, and if you add up all of the views from those videos, it gets up to 280,000 views. Alternatively, I have a video where I built a clone base in 7 days. That video has gone on to get 960,000 views over the course of the last year and a half. So it's nearly 4 times as many views, but also it's just one video, which means it takes a lot less time than making 7 different videos. I do think that if I had presented my Christophsis build in more of a challenge style format in a single video, it actually probably could have outperformed the entire series that I made it with. With packing so much content into a single video, the reason that these perform so much better is because of the second part to this kind of shift that we're seeing on YouTube. Compared to 5 years ago, there's just significantly more competition in the LEGO niche on YouTube, which means that your videos have to be more engaging and more entertaining than something that would have been made at that time, especially if you want to reach a wider audience. You can look back on videos that were made many years ago and they will have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views, but those were made at a time when YouTube was just a completely different climate. If some of those videos were uploaded today, they would perform much worse because they're just not made up to the standard of quality of today's content. I think that the reality is that MOC updates are often long, drawn out. They contain unscripted content, a bunch of yapping about the build, and quite frankly, some of them can just be straight up boring. The only way I really watch MOC updates these days is passively. There's not usually enough visual interest or anything substantial going on for me to have to actually pay attention to the screen. So I might throw it up on a TV and have it going in the background, but it's not content that really feels like it should be actively consumed. And I'm not a brain-rotted 12-year-old. I'm 29 years old, but the reality is that on YouTube, there is a lot more out there now that I can watch that's simply more engaging and more entertaining. Not even necessarily fast-paced, but something that respects my time, it's well scripted, well thought through, and it's intentionally delivering value with every minute that I give to the video. I think another problem with this format in today's age is if there isn't enough happening between episodes, it can cause people to get bored, it can cause them to skip out on episodes, and with the way that the algorithm works, if people are skipping your episodes, YouTube is going to recommend these videos to less people over time, and it's just going to decline the performance of your channel, especially if you're not putting out other stuff between these updates. If your series starts tanking and you've committed to this, you're going to have some people who are part of your core that are still engaged with it, but the reality is, as performance goes down over the course of the series, it makes it so that the finale ends up needing to perform super well to make up for the lack of performance of the rest of the series. So there's kind of a lot that hinges on just that one video, which I think can be quite stressful for people. All that to say, there are some outliers who still stick to this traditional MOC series format. To start with, I think we can look at Solid Brick Studios. David has a long-standing tradition of doing these MOC series, and it's something that he's been able to build into his brand over time, and people have come to expect from him. If you grew up watching his videos or you've just seen his series in the past, the likelihood of you returning to watch another one is pretty high. I think the downside here is that if you're a smaller channel, it's going to be so much harder to break into this format. You're competing against a lot of other highly produced content, and I'm not going to say it's impossible, but if you decide to take this approach, it is going to be something that takes time. It's going to be the long road. It's going to be hard. And you're going to have to be dedicated to it because, I don't know, I think it could take years, honestly, to grow something from the ground up if you're just sticking with this format alone. I think the second outlier is Coconut Brick Studios. And I think that he is somebody who took that slower approach where he got consistent with making these updates and everything, but he also sprinkled in other videos to try and reach a wider audience with things here and there, and that helps to pull people into the series. I think the second thing that Coconut has going for him is that he's got a really strong membership community, and that helps to supplement when maybe he decides to pick a little bit more of a niche build to work on that might not have as broad of an appeal, but when you have a strong and dedicated fan base for something like that, they're going to stick with you and they're going to offer their support for you to continue doing what you're doing. And again, this takes a long time to build that trust and to build that engagement with the audience, but clearly it can be done. So in summary, I think that there is still an audience for these MOC series, but it's much smaller than it was before. And I think if you want to do it, you kind of have to approach things with a little bit of a different lens. So for the rest of us, if the MOC series thing isn't working and you want to try something different, what should you do today to try and find success and grow your channel? If you want to make large scale builds and reach the widest audience possible, I have 3 potential formats for you to try. With examples, I did a little bit of research for this. So option 1, which may be kind of obvious, is a single video that shows the entire build. To give a couple examples of this, I can point to my clone base in 7 days or the castle MOC that I worked on a couple friends with. I think that these videos kind of show that if you pack a lot of information and content into a single video, it makes something that's easily digestible for people. It has a little bit of virality in its potential, and it can be made more interesting if you add some sort of twist to things. I like to go with a time constraint because it forces me to remain productive and it gives a deadline and a goal. But if you don't want to do that, there are other ways that you can go about things. Another great example is Solid Brick Studios' Daro build. He didn't do a series for this. He kind of just dropped it out of nowhere. It's a massive build. He worked on it for a month, and that video has performed incredibly well. Option 2 is to take the standard MOC series, but to kind of reformat things a little bit. And there are some people that are doing this really well. So the format here is that you create a MOC series, but every single episode has to be able to stand alone as its own video. I think the gold standard for this format within the Lego niche is probably Brickcrafts, who makes Lego City content and a number of other things really, but every time he puts out a video, you can consume it as its own thing. It kind of builds into this larger world that he's working on and stuff, but each episode or, video episode, whatever you want to call it, gets between 300,000 to 1 million views, which is great performance. I think this format works so well for a couple of different reasons. Number one is that I think it increases viewer satisfaction. When you're sitting and you watch a project from start to finish, it feels like a complete thing, and it's just more enjoyable than being left on some sort of a cliffhanger. With the variety on his channel as well, you can, watch a video if you're interested in aircraft stuff of his airports, or if you like the Wild West, you can watch those videos. You don't have to consume everything, but it does leave the opportunity to use topics to branch out and pull in new people who might be interested in something like that. Another great example is Cheesy Studios' Minecraft series. He works on building different biomes from Minecraft for each of his videos. Again, they're standalone. They're working towards building a much larger build, but he also has a very strong memberships community because he posts his videos early for members. This is kind of a best of both worlds approach because you have these videos that can reach out to a wider audience. He posts other content that brings in new people that might not be aware of his series. And then you also have that hardcore dedicated fan base who's waiting for that next upload and wants to get in early so they can watch it before everybody else. Option number 3 is a short series. And I think the perfect example of this is a series from Brick Science. He did a series where he built a Lego city in 30 days so he could flood it. So he posted shorts for 30 days with updates every single day. He was getting millions of views per video. Then he also converted a lot of these shorts viewers to long form viewers by posting the finale as a longer video on his channel. This format has some serious advantages to it. For one, it allows you to kind of skip one of the hardest parts of making YouTube videos, which is the packaging. You don't have to make a thumbnail for these videos. You don't have to convince somebody to click on them. Now, you do need a good hook for these shorts, and you have to craft that in its own way. But it is easier for people to come across your content because if you can create something with a little bit of viral potential, it can reach outside of the Lego niche to people who would have never clicked on the video in the first place, and they just come across it on their feed and you're grabbing their attention immediately. The other benefit is that this is easier to consume. A traditional mock update might be 20 minutes, but you can watch a short in just a minute or less. And so it's not asking as much of you as a viewer. It's something that you can keep up with easily, and you don't have to dedicate a ton of time or energy to it. So as far as existing options, I think those are some great things to think about. But as an option 4 or bonus option, I guess you could say, I think that there is a new opportunity on the horizon. If you keep up with YouTube news or any of those types of things, you would know that YouTube is now the most used app on televisions. YouTube has said themselves that they're leaning heavily into TV viewership. And so with that shift in mentality, it does bring some new opportunities. In September of last year, YouTube announced that they're going to be allowing creators to organize their content into seasons and episodes for YouTube on TV. I think this could allow for some new formats and also creating possibly bingeable mock series. When people sit down to watch a video on TV, they're in a different frame of mind than just consuming something quick on their phone or maybe even on a laptop. Perhaps mock series could be formatted where you've got your hook at the intro, maybe you've got a cliffhanger going into the next episode to keep people watching through. I think this is just one example of how there is opportunity for further evolution of the concept of the mock series on YouTube. I'm probably not going to be the one to figure out the best new format, but I think when it does happen, there's a lot of potential there. So in conclusion, I don't think that mock series are necessarily completely dead. I just think that they look different now from how they did 5 to 10 years ago. As a caveat, if you just want to make mock series for fun and you're just having a good time and enjoying yourself, don't let this video stop you. Feel free to do things in the original format. Do whatever you want. It's your channel. These formats that I talked about are mainly for people who are trying to reach a wider audience. So if you're just doing it for fun, don't sweat it. Just have a good time. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. So let me know if I missed anything, if you disagree with me, whatever. This is just my perspective on things. So drop a comment. Let's have conversation. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good one.